Alright, you lot, how's it going? It's come to my attention that some of you would like to have a bit of a better understanding of how to adjust the mixtures on your carburetors. So I think I can help with that. If we have a look down here, we should be able to just about see the carburetor. And what we've got the high speed needle here. This taller one here. Usually if you're looking front on at your engine or at the carburetor, it'll normally be on the right hand side. Some engines, this one does, some of them do, some of them don't. This is a mid-range needle. That one there, that's the mid-range needle. So we've got high end, mid-range. Around the other side, on this particular type of carburetor, we have the low end. This is for the low revs and the tick over. It doesn't adjust, well, it does adjust the tick over somewhat. However, there is a dedicated screw for tick over, but you have to understand that tuning a carburetor is a balancing act. You're balancing the carburetor effectively. So you're balancing the way that the fuel and the air get mixed up and go into the engine. I'm not going to go too far into the complications of it because this is supposed to be a simple guide. All you need to know is you've got 3 needles, 3 jets, okay? The mid-range one we probably won't be touching at the moment because, in my opinion, that's one that you'll only touch when you really know what you're doing. You don't really need to touch it at all, to be perfectly honest with you. You don't need to touch it at all. However, when you realise and you understand how it works, how a carburetor works, you can start adjusting that mid-range needle just a gnats, because, well, it does do something. It's there for a reason. But for the purposes of now, we don't need to. We're going to be concentrating on the low and the high and the tick over screw. The tick over screw is a screw which is just a stopper screw basically. Set one in there. Some carburetors will be different, they'll have a different screw. On some carburetors the tick over screw is a screw which protrudes out from the carburetor with a spring around the outside of it. All that does, you screw it in, it stops. It's just a little stopper. It doesn't actually adjust any mixture. It's a little stopper, and it'll stop the throttle slide from going in all the way, and it just creates a bit of a gap. Some people say that you need to measure the gap to 1 millimeter. Personally, I never measure it. I just literally go by sound, feel, and just how the engine's running to adjust it. But it's up to you, whatever you want to do. For the purposes of this video, we're going to go with sound and feel. So, before you do any adjustment at all, unless it's adjustment to get the engine to run, the rule of thumb for adjusting carburetors is you don't touch any adjustments until the engine's at operating temperature. However, in some occasions it might be so far out of whack that it won't get to operating temperature because it won't run. It might not run long enough, it might not run at all. In which case you will have to do some small adjustments to get the engine to run. But those are something that when the sun's out the way, you can realise yourself, if you know what I'm trying to say. You'll just play around with those needles, in, out, and that's here and there. I have got, and I will probably make an updated version, I've got a video on how to get your engine to run if the carburetor's so out of whack it won't run, if that makes any sense. So we won't go too far into it in this one, but there is one already, and there will be an updated version coming out soon on how to do that if you can't get your engine to run long enough for it to actually tune it. Let's get this one started, get it up to operating temperature, and then we can have a little play around with those needles. Once it's running, just got to drive it around, just get it up to operating temperature, and then we can start doing some adjustments. it is important to get it up to operating temperature. The reason we do that is because if it's not warm, any adjustment that we do will go out of whack once it does warm up. So, I think it's pretty much at running temperature now. It's ticking over quite well at the moment. But you can see, that's full throttle, look. It don't want to go anywhere. That's because it's far too rich at the moment. There's too much fuel, not enough air. So we always start with the high-end needle. Turn that in a little bit. Just 1/8 of a turn to start with, and see what that does. Let's have a look now. Full throttle. Ah, see, that is too much fuel again. Now the reason why it conked out, and I forgot to take my glow starter with me, the reason why it conked out was because there was too much fuel in there, and it just basically just flooded it. There was too much, the engine couldn't burn it off, so it conked out. This is, you know, what happens. So if you've got this problem, there's a chance that your engine could be far too rich. Still full throttle, look, not going anywhere. Because there's no torque in that engine, so we go a little bit more. Another 1/8 of a turn. Still too much nitro. So we fire it up again. Sometimes, if your engine won't start, get your other hand, do a little bit of throttle. Open up the throttle a little bit, and that will help it to start. Give it a little bit of a kick. We're on full throttle now. That is actually full whack, full throttle, and there's next to no power. So we do another turn. Now we're getting more power. Still not enough for it to move properly though. So we do another turn. Still too much, but now you're running into the problem where, because it's so rich, there's so much fuel, it's probably filling up the crankcase. So you just have to be patient with it. Now we've got enough power where it will actually move. Not loads of power there, but it's moving. That's full throttle now. This, for your information, is a brand new engine. A brand new engine, especially for this video, and it's on 25% OptiFuel. Now, you keep adjusting those needles like we've just been doing on the high speed. You keep adjusting it until you no longer see any improvement. Now you may have noticed, as it's clearing that nitro out from that crankcase, it's getting faster. Still a bit sluggish on acceleration, but we'll mend that in a minute. Still very, very rich. Now you want to look for the smoke trail as well. Let's do another turn. Let's do another turn in. And see what we get now. Look for the smoke. Loads and loads of smoke, which is good. Now, because these are a 2-stroke engine, the oil is in the fuel, which means you'll always have smoke. You don't want to try and be tuning for no smoke like a lot of people seem to be doing these days with all this environmentally friendly and all that bollocks. No, you want smoke. There needs to be a constant trail of smoke, particularly on full throttle. There's full throttle. It's very important there's a trail of smoke. If there's not a trail of smoke, then you'll be in a little bit of trouble. There's not enough nitro. Got some dogs turned up now, so we're gonna have to play it careful. We'll go over here. We'll go over here now, because there's a couple of dogs turned up over there and we don't want them chasing us around. But it's very, very important. It's very, very important that there's always a trail of smoke, because that means that you're getting enough nitro. Let's put some more in it, because I think we're about to run out. We was running so rich for some of that. We're about to run out of nitro. Well, we let these dogs pass. You'll notice that it is actually ticking over quite well, and we haven't even done very much to them needles yet. We've done a little bit to the high speed, haven't done anything else. It might be a little bit quick, but we're not going to worry about that for now. Where's them dogs? Right, they're all over there. No more doggies. Great. So, yeah, you always want a little trail of smoke. It's very important. No smoke, not enough oil, engine's being starved of oil, damage could occur. Right, so let's see what we got now. It's been ticking over for a little while. Let's see what we get. Still rich. Sluggish to take off. But we can fix that. We can mend that. Don't worry about that. Ho, 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 don't you be worrying about that kind of stuff. Right, give it a little blast out, clear out any oil that might have built up during that ticking over. Right. Let's do another 1/8 of a turn in on the high end. What a beast. That's running really well on the high end, but can you hear that bop, 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 bop? It's still really rich. Listen, if we go from tick over, punch full throttle, look what happens. It goes bop, because there's too much. So let's do another 1/8 of a turn in. And we keep going 1/8 of a turns until we see the opposite effect. Until there's no longer any improvement in the way that the engine runs. Punch in full throttle. That's punching full throttle, that is. Now I have got, my clutch springs are a little bit stiff on this engine, so it might not sound as good. Now you can hear that, you might have heard that. Did you hear that tick over then? When it returned to that tick over, it stayed high and then it went down to a nice burble. Some people call that a 2-stage idle. I don't particularly care about it. I don't care whether it's there or if it's not there. It's nothing. I just don't care. But a lot of people do, and it's a big thing, particularly I think in America for some reason, whether that's there or whether it's not there. To get rid of that, all you have to do is just turn that tick over screw out. But we'll get into that in a minute. But I know some people are probably going to hear that and mention that in a minute. So that's what you need to do. But if you care if it's there or if you don't. The tick over at the moment is slightly high anyway. So we're going to have to adjust that in a minute. Let's turn this one in another 1/8 of a turn. Now you will notice that the more you lean that mixture, the higher the tick over will get. That's why we have to lower it later on. Here we go, full throttle. Still rich. But now I think we've got, no, listen for that, it's too lean now. Ready, listen. Listen for that, ready? Right, we've gone too far on the low end now. So, that was our threshold. And you hear it going ding, 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 ding. So now we go out a little bit. See whether we still got that bop. There we go. I think we're on the line now for the high end. Nope, still a bit lean. You hear that? When it was on full throttle, it goes meow. That means too lean still on the high end. So we go back again. Little adjustments, little tiny adjustments. You've got to get it just right. Right. Full throttle. Yes. No hesitation. Fine. So, now we've done that high end, let's go to the low end. That little there on the throttle, turn that in and out. Now this one will improve our acceleration. This will make the acceleration somewhat better. Watch this. It's already better than it was. And that was just with one turn. Well, not even a turn, an 1/8. There's an 1/8 of a turn on that. Oh, this is a rocking little beast. Right. Then we go in another 1/8. Remember, this is on 25%. Now, something to remember is, a lot of people seem to think that the more percentage nitro, like if you go for example, OptiFuel 20% over 16%, for example. Now, you still get the same amount of power. Oh, it seems a bit lean now. You still get the same amount of power. You hear that was going fast, and I turned the needle out and it slowed down. It's because it was too lean. Now you still get the same amount of power from 16 and 20 and 25 respectively. However, the more oil, the more percentage, you could run 30%, you could run 20, 25. The more percentage nitro that you have, it will make it easier to tune. The tuning window gets bigger. However, that oil content can mask the bad tuning if you're not tuning it right. So you could potentially run your engine too lean, too hot, and damage it, but you still have a long trail of smoke because there's a lot of oil. I know it sounds contradictory, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. So having more percentage, say if you've got 25% over 16%, it doesn't really make a lot of difference. The less percentage means that you just got to be slightly better at your tuning. However, it's not really going to make a lot of difference. You know, a lot of people say, oh, I'm not going to run 16%, there's no power in that. Oh, there's plenty of power in 16% nitro. You've just got to adjust your carburetor accordingly. Anyway, let's get back to this. I quite often run 30% in my Savages, just because I like all the smoke. this now is running like an absolute dream. We might have to adjust that tick over a little bit. The high end seems to be quite right. Little bit of a hesitation there, but this is still a brand new engine, so I've only just ran it in a couple of weeks ago. So it is still running in a little bit. I mean, I've done a lot of running in tanks through it. Right, that now is a little bit too high. So this tick over screw down here, turn it out. Turn it out a little bit. That will close the gap in that throttle slide, and that's cocked. Now we've got a nice steady tick over. Let's see what it's like after let's see what it's like when we punch the throttle. This is going to be a punch to full throttle. It is still a little bit rich. However, that being said, I'm not tuning it for racing or anything like that. I'm just trying to get this engine to run reasonably well to be able to have some fun with it. That's what you need to think about when you're playing around with your Nitro car. You know, a lot of people, for some reason, they'll go for something they want to do racing. You know, this racing that, racing this, racing that. Oh dear, are we running out of Nitro? We're running out of Nitro. I think we were. Fine. Well, that was bizarre. Thought we were running out of Nitro, but I don't think we are. Let this other dog go. But yeah, a lot of people seem to, they want a tune for racing. Everyone loves racing, racing this, racing that. And if they're tuning their car for racing, it's going to be the best. Not necessarily, because a race tuned engine is tuned for just that. It's tuned for racing. Whereas that's not going to be ideal for just going around a park or going over some jumps or something like that. So you want to tune your engine respectively to what you're going to be using it for. And for me, I'm just going to be using my car, just going around the field, going over some jumps, skate parks, BMX tracks, etc. So I'm going to tune it slightly rich, just because I don't need maximum performance. I need enough performance to have some fun. It doesn't have to be maximum. Another dog going past there now. Once that's gone, we'll have another go. Let's turn this tick over down a little bit. That sounds a lot better. Look at that. That's a lot better than it was. Where's that dog? Right. Still too lean on that low end now. Don't know why that happened. You know why it's gone all of a sudden too lean on the low end. We've got a blockage. That's strange. We might have a blockage actually on the fuel maybe. But this is a good example of what it sounds like when there's not enough fuel. That that's not enough. I might have a breakdown on my hands, but that's alright. Yeah, full throttle. We don't like full throttle. It don't seem to like full throttle very much, does it? Now, but that's alright. Right, I've mended it. There was just a little bit of blockage, but I've mended that now. We've got full fuel flow, but now our tick over is slightly too low, I think. It's going to conk out in a minute, so we'll just raise that and that's. There we go. That's a lovely little tick over there now. Might be. That's perfectly fine for me. I played around with those needles a little bit, so I'm going to turn them in a little bit. But hopefully this has helped you somewhat. Oh, still a bit. Hopefully this has helped you a little bit with your engine and understanding how it works. Because that's what it's all about, understanding. You need to understand. Understanding is key. Once you understand how something works, you'll have it mastered in no time. There we go. I'm quite quickly running out of battery on my camera, so let's wrap this up in a nutshell. What you need to know and what you don't need to know. You don't need to mess around trying to get your engine to be race ready if you're not going to be racing. As simple as that. Don't get caught up in all that kind of stuff. You need to get it to a state where it's good enough for what you want. Turning the screws anti-clockwise or outwards will increase fuel mixture. You'll get more fuel, more nitro, less air, which means a richer mixture, which means it'll be slower, burn more nitro, but it'll be slower and it won't run very well. There's no danger of damage apart from perhaps your glow plug. Excuse me, you've got some dirt on your eyeballs. There is no danger of damage apart from perhaps to the glow plug maybe. The leaner it gets, the hotter it will run. Oh, it will run colder if it's richer, by the way. The hotter it will run if it's leaner. There is danger of damage if you go too lean because there's not enough oil. The engine will run hot, it'll also be not lubricated enough, and that means it'll just, well, all the piston and liner and all the bearings will be dry and they'll start to score, and that's not very good, is it? You don't want that. That will kill your engine. So that's what you need to know, really. I think I've probably covered it. I think I've shown you a rich condition, a lean condition, and a fairly good tune, in my opinion. But you must remember that I'm not going for the very best optimal tune because I'm just not. And I don't think you should be unless you're racing, because then obviously you want the best. If you're just going around the block over a few jumps and things like that, you don't need to worry about any of that. Just get it to where it ticks over, like mine's sitting there now ticking over. It's been ticking over the whole time. Get it to a stage where it runs, drives, and is happy. And that's really all you need to worry about. I hope it's helped you. I'll catch you on the next one. Any questions, comment, and I want to know where you're from and when you watch these videos, because I love to hear from you all. Any questions, let me know, and we'll try and get them all sorted out. There will be a video coming up, an updated video on how to get your engine to start if it won't start. Catch you later on. All the best. Take care.